Hello and welcome to Better Business Bureau's webinar on Charity Review. I'd first like to start by talking about Better Business Bureau. We are located in Buffalo, New York, but we service all 48 counties of upstate New York. Our mission is to be the leader in advancing marketplace trust. Better Business Bureau sets standards for marketplace trust, which gives businesses, charities, and consumers a baseline to work with. Better Business Bureau encourages and supports the use of best practices by providing educational resources for business, charities, and consumers. For businesses and charities, we offer webinars, and for consumers, we offer in-person presentations. Better Business Bureau recognizes and honors those who go above and beyond the call of duty to exemplify our standards. You may be familiar with our Torch Award for Ethics, which we administer yearly. And in that award process, we acknowledge businesses and charities who really take our standards to heart and show that on a daily basis. Better Business Bureau notifies the public of businesses and charities who are not adhering to our standards. So if there is a bad business or a bad charity out there who's taking advantage of their customers, Better Business Bureau will let their consumers know. And finally, Better Business Bureau prides itself in being trustworthy. We bring charities, businesses, and consumers together in the community so that everybody can trust one another. So on this slide, I just wanted to highlight some buzzwords that we often see, especially in the nonprofit community. We see trust, honor, sincerity, transparency, principles. These are all words that are extremely important to nonprofit organizations and their attempts to gain donors. And through our charity review process, all of these buzzwords are definitely exemplified in the end result. In a donor survey which Better Business Bureau administered in 2018, we found these to be the top 3 reasons that people trust charities. First, reputation built over time. Second, honesty and transparency. And third, research, ratings, and credentials. So when donors are choosing charities to work with, they are looking at these 3 things, and through accreditation with Better Business Bureau, you can at least get 2 and 3. The first one, reputation built over time. That has to do with how long you've been in service and in business and what your donors think of you. There are some eligibility requirements to be able to be reviewed by Better Business Bureau as a nonprofit. You must have a 501c3 tax filing status, which means you also file a 990 with the state. You must be located within the 48 counties of upstate New York. If you are not in the 48 counties of upstate New York, please contact us and we can refer you to the proper area. Other Better Business Bureaus throughout the country administer the same charity review program, so we would be happy to put you in the right direction. Finally, you must solicit locally for charitable purposes. So if you have a donate button on your website or you send solicitations through the mail, we want you to go through our process. There are a few reasons why Better Business Bureau would actually request an organization to go through the process. One of them being if you meet our threshold for the month for inquiries. Inquiries is anytime somebody calls us asking about your organization or searches your name on our website. Like I said, if you meet that inquiry threshold, we will reach out to you and ask you to complete an evaluation. Additionally, if an organization has a complaint on file, we will ask that the organization goes through our review process for the 3 years that that complaint is reportable. And finally, if an organization voluntarily chooses to go through the process, we welcome that. We want organizations to go through this process. So that's the third way that an organization can be reviewed. So now I want to talk about our standards. There are 20 standards for charity accountability, and there are 4 different umbrella categories. The first being governance, which 5 standards fall under that umbrella. Finances, which has 7 standards. Results and reporting, which has 2 standards. And truthful and transparent, which has 6 standards. And in the next slides, I'll just be diving into those categories to see the different standards that fall under them. The first being governance. So we look at your board oversight. There must be a board of directors in place that provides oversight of the charity's operations and its staff. Board size, we need to see that there's a board of directors with a minimum of 5 voting members. Board meetings. A board must meet a minimum of 3 times per year, with the majority of the full governing body in attendance, and we do require that to be face-to-face. Board compensation. You must not have any more than one person or 10% of the board representation directly or indirectly compensated. And if it is a compensated board member, they should not be the chair or the treasurer. Conflict of interest. We just want to make sure that there are no conflicting interests between a board or staff member where the charity results in a relationship or business affiliation. And moving right along to results reporting, we do ask for an effectiveness policy, which means there needs to be a board policy of assessing, no less than every 2 years, the organization's performance and effectiveness, and of determining future actions required to achieve its mission. And following right in those footsteps, we'd like to see an effectiveness report. So there needs to be a report that's submitted to the governing body that outlines the results of the policy. So there needs to be policy findings and any recommendations for future actions in that effectiveness report. Under the finances umbrella, there are quite a few standards, the first being program expenses. An organization should spend at least 65% of its total expenses on program activities. Fundraising expenses. An organization should spend no more than 35% of related contributions on its fundraising. Accumulating funds. We really emphasize this for nonprofits that you should avoid accumulating funds. Your net assets available should never exceed 3 times the size of your past year's expenses or 3 times the current year budget. Your audit report should be made available, completed in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. You should have a detailed expense breakdown, which includes financial statements breaking down all expenses, showing where the expenses were allocated. We do ask that there's accurate expense reporting. So we ask that you report on the charity's expenses, including any joint cost allocations, and in your financial statements that should all be laid out. And finally, under finances, we do ask to see the budget plan, which should be submitted to your board yearly. So it's board approved, just showing what you plan to do in the following year. Those budget plans would include program activities, your fundraising, and administration costs. And finally, the last umbrella is truthful and transparent. So we do ask that you have accurate materials. We ask for examples of any mailings you send out, and we make sure that you are being truthful in what you're telling your donors. We ask for an annual report. It should be available to donors on your website. An annual report does not have to be a leather-bound document or a giant binder full of documents. It can be as simple as 1 page, just showing everything that you did for that year. Website disclosures. You should include on your website the same information that is recommended for your annual reports. So like I said, that should all be available online, as well as an electronic copy of your IRS 990 form and any addresses or phone numbers that a donor may need to use to get in contact with your organization. There should be a donor privacy in place, which addresses privacy concerns of your donors, so they should know what you're planning to do with their information and how you plan to keep their information secure. We do need to be made aware of any cause marketing that you do. An example of this would be Amazon Smiles. A lot of people do that these days. So we just need to know what percentage of the sales actually goes back to your organization. And then finally, complaints. So A donor can call and complain about your organization to Better Business Bureau, and we just ask that if that ever happens, that you respond to all complaints and make a good faith effort to resolve it. We always say that a complaint is not a bad thing, but it gives you a great opportunity to respond to your customer, let them know that you're willing to fix the issue, and as long as we see that on our end, then you're still in good graces with us. So now I just want to talk about the different evaluation outcomes. An organization can either meet our standards, which means they've met all 20 standards. They can miss standards, which means they've missed one or more of the standards, or they can have a report stating that they did not disclose. So first, I'll talk about missed standards. If you miss one or more standards, we will make that public for anybody who's searching your name on our website. But you do have the ability to make a public comment about why you missed a standard. So we all live in upstate New York. We know about the snow. Let's say that you had your third and final board meeting planned for December, and there's a terrible storm that nobody could get there, and that's why you missed the standard about board meetings. We'll allow you to make that note on your public profile. And going to did not disclose, this would apply for those that have a complaint on file. If we reach out to you and say you have a complaint on file, please complete the evaluation, and we don't hear back from you, we are required to publish a report stating that you did not disclose to us. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just letting the public know that we don't have information about you. And of course, like I said, meet standards means you met all 20 standards and you are a BBB accredited charity. And moving on, just a couple quick notes. It is free to be evaluated. There's no deadline for your evaluations. They just cannot be left open indefinitely. So if you were to start this process, we wouldn't say you have to turn it in by this date. We understand that sometimes it takes time to get these documents together. You may not have a staff member that can dedicate their full day to working on this. So we take that into consideration. And as long as we see that you're working on it, we allow you to continue to do so without a set in stone deadline. You can discontinue the process at any time. So if you decide to begin the process and you feel that you won't meet the standards, we'll allow you to correct those standards and come back and complete your evaluation at another time. The only time that you would be exempt from that is if you met that complaint threshold or you met our inquiry threshold. So in those instances, you would have to go through the process, and if you choose to discontinue, we would state that you did not disclose to us. Evaluations where you meet your standards or you miss your standards are good for 2 years. So if you go through the process, be rest assured that you don't have to do it again for another 2 years. And then finally, if you miss standards, you can be reevaluated at any time. So you don't have to wait until that 2-year period is up to go through the process again. Let's say you missed standard 7, you can go back and correct the standard so that you're meeting it, and we will update your profile for you. And now we get to talk about what BBB accreditation means for your organization and how it benefits your organization. So in addition to becoming accredited, you can choose to license our charity seal. It is a licensed image, like I said. The fees are based on a sliding scale and determined using your total revenue minus in-kind donations. So just to give you an idea, the highest that we've had paid in our area was $3,000 for a 2-year period. That was for a multi-million-dollar organization. For our smaller organizations, you can expect to pay between $200 for the 2-year period to $750 for the 2-year period. It's quite reasonable. We acknowledge that you're nonprofit organizations and that you may not have the budget for this. So like I said, it's a sliding scale based on your revenue, and we are very understanding that it should be reasonable for nonprofits. So like I said, that high number that I had stated before, that was for our multi-million-dollar organizations. So don't be too scared by that number. Most of you probably will fall within the 500 area for that 2 years. So you can look at it as $250 a year. If you have specific questions about your organization, you can send me an email or give me a call and I can give you a better idea. I don't have that included in my slide because it's a on basis type thing. So definitely reach out to me if you'd like to know specifically. But let me just reiterate that you do not have to license the seal. If you choose not to, you can still advertise yourself as accredited with us for free. You just cannot use the logo. How can you use the seal? There's quite a few ways that you can use the seal. You can use it in your business cards, on your letterhead, your faxes, newsletter, email signatures, and invoices. You can use it on t-shirts for a specific event. You can use it on your marketing materials like your flyers, brochures, any email campaigns you have. And of course, you can use it on your website. If you use the seal on your website, it is actually linkable to your public profile, which is great. We just ask that if you are printing it on materials, don't go overboard and print 100,000 copies, because in case you chose not to go through the process again, you would not be able to use those documents if you have the seal printed. So just keep that in mind. Definitely use it on your marketing materials, but just don't go overboard with your ordering, just in case. So these are just the benefits. I want to go over what it means for accredited charities versus the seal holders. You do get a couple more benefits as a seal holder, but both of you can tell the world you're accredited whether or not you license the seal. Shout it from the rooftops. We love when charities advertise that they're accredited. It's great, and that's the whole point, to let your donors know that you've been awarded this wonderful recognition of being a Better Business Bureau accredited charity. You will have access to our webinars, whether or not you license the seal. We have webinars that talk about ADA compliance. We have webinars that discuss online, how to maintain your reputation online, and several other topics. We're always looking for recommendations on webinars, so this would be your chance to ask for a specific webinar and we can see if we can fulfill it for you. We have our complaint resolution services. Like I talked about before, a donor or customer can call us and file a complaint against your business, and we will help you to resolve it. So we act as the middleman. Once that complaint comes in, we verify with you that it was a customer or a donor, and then we help you to resolve it. We'll be the middleman and work with both you and the customer to make sure that you have resolved it. We are a third party, so our goal is to make sure both parties are satisfied. You will be able to have listings in our yearly publications. We're just wrapping up our brochure, which we'll be handing out all next year. And we listed our accredited charities, and our seal holders got special recognition by having it in bold and at the top of the listing. So you'll both be listed in those publications, but we do pay special attention to those seal holders. You will have access to the charity seal for advertising, of course, if you plan to license the seal, and you get exclusive advertisement for our Giving Tuesday campaign if you license the seal. If you follow us on Facebook, take a look, but we have a seal spotlight every day during this time of year. Since Giving Tuesday is right around the corner, it's a great way for us to really give a nice spotlight to our seal holders. So what's next? If you'd like to go through this process, I will need the following information from you. I just need the name of your organization, your EIN number, date of incorporation, the number of employees you have, your address, and then the main contact person's information. So in giving me this information, you are not promising you're completing the process. You're not locked into anything. This is just me creating an online profile for you, which will then give you the access to the evaluation. So if you have any questions, I am available by both email and phone. That is my direct line. I welcome you to give me a call, send me an email. If you have any specific questions for your organization, I'm happy to answer them. We look forward to working with all of you, and thank you so much for attending today's webinar.